Thank you, Becky, and good morning to everybody. Welcome to the 44th Kentucky Governors Conference on Energy and Environment, even if we're doing it virtually here for the first time. You may have heard, my family and I are currently quarantining after we were possibly exposed to the coronavirus over the weekend. First, everybody's feeling great. Nobody's tested positive, but we've got to make sure that we are setting the right example for the citizens of Kentucky, and that we are doing everything we ask every other Kentuckian and every other Kentucky family to do in a similar situation. That's answer the call, that's quarantine when asked, and make sure that if you've been exposed to the virus, you can't expose anybody else around. So while I appreciate Becky thanking everybody for their time, I've got more than a little bit. I'm happy to be here with you this morning. So while I'm joining you virtually, I couldn't be happier to talk about energy and the environment, areas that are so important to Team Kentucky and the better Kentucky that we are building. Let's think about that for just a moment. For most of us, this virus has upended our lives, certainly mine right now, but everybody's. It's impacted our economy. It's even impacted our children's education. It has changed every aspect of what we do each and every day. And it leads us oftentimes to wishing that we could just get back to normal. If we could just get back to what it was like before March the 6th here in Kentucky. But I think, even in the midst of a pandemic, we should yearn and want for so much more. Let's not return to being one of the poorest states based on per capita income. That's not the type of normal that I want to get back to. Let's not return to being one of the unhealthiest states in America. That's not the normal that I want to get back to. Let's not return to being a state in many areas less educated than those we compete with. That's not a normal I want to get back to. Let's not return to being a state where many lack clean drinking water or clean air. That's not a state that I want our families to get back to. Let's not return to a normal where many areas in our state lack the infrastructure they need to recruit the good jobs that our families deserve. That's not a normal I want to get back to. Let's not return to being a state where if you have a child with special needs, in many areas of the state, there is a lack of the necessary health care and services, and you're told the best thing that you can do for your child is to move. That's not a state that I want to get back to. Let's not return to being a state that's divided, that's angry. Oftentimes, maybe we're even a little selfish, viewing each other as an enemy and trying to even refuse to shake each other's hands when we can, simply because somebody may hold a different view. That's not the type of people, and it's not the type of state that I want to get back to. So let's not yearn for normalcy. Let's commit to building a better Kentucky as we move forward. Our new normal, when this is done, should be a better Kentucky. Better jobs, better health care, cleaner environment, better people, more compassion, looking out for one another. That's how we move forward in a truly better way. And we have this opportunity right now. Every pandemic, every crisis that we faced at this level in America has changed what things are like moving forward. So we've got to survive what we're dealing with right now, but it presents an opportunity for us to rewrite our future and to truly make it better. So it's fitting that we hold this year's meeting in October, which is National Energy Awareness Month. During October, we put a spotlight on the nearly 43,000 Kentuckians who produce, transport, and refine our energy. We recognize the importance of the energy-reliant automotive industry, which employs about 83,000 people in the state, and in many instances started manufacturing PPE when we needed that protection the most, and when nobody else out there was able to help, but those around us in our communities. And when I think about that, I think about where we are fighting this virus right now, still in a difficult time. We are protecting each other based on what we do right here in Kentucky, with 3 homegrown Kentucky labs providing the testing that we need, with so many of our manufacturers and others out there making sure that we have the PPE that we need. Kentuckians coming together to protect one another. But in this month, National Energy Awareness Month, we also highlight the 26,000 jobs in business that are dedicated to increasing energy efficiency across the Commonwealth. So this conference and the National Awareness Week both come once a year. But here in Kentucky, energy production is integral to our history and our heritage, and it's woven into our daily lives. As with most aspects of life, 2020 has challenged Kentucky's businesses in the energy sector in ways that few of us could have predicted. Like the innovative and resilient members of Team Kentucky that you are, our business and industry leaders are finding the emerging opportunities, and we are embracing the future. I'm proud of Kentucky's energy infrastructure. It spans fossil fuels to renewable resources, over 42,000 miles of pipelines, gas storage areas, refineries, and petroleum terminals, more than 10,000 miles of electric transmission lines, and 56 operating power plant units. Kentucky connects north to south, east to west, and provides electricity and fuel to support our economy and that of the nation. Now, we know our coal industry here in Kentucky is facing rapid change that is affecting and impacting our families and our communities. Just a decade ago, the state's electricity net coal-fired generation was at 89%, with almost 19,000 miners that were employed in good jobs. In 2019, about 73% of Kentucky's electricity net generation was coal-fired, with almost 6,000 miners employed. Coal is and always will be an indelible part of Kentucky. And I want to thank the men and the women who daily do the hard work in the mines to power Kentucky and that help build this nation. It can be dangerous work. We were reminded of that on Friday when we received word that 48-year-old Douglas Slusher of Calvin, Kentucky, was killed while working in a mine in Bell County. His death is felt deeply by his family, his friends, his community, and by extension, all of us here in the Commonwealth. Please remember him in your prayers and lift up his family in their time of need. But the coal industry also has an opportunity to embrace new opportunities, as do all of our people. The Department of Energy recently announced $122 million in funding to produce rare earth elements and critical minerals from our coal reserves. These rare elements are used in many of our devices, from computers to cell phones to renewable energy systems and to batteries. Rare earth elements play a critical role in our national security, energy independence, environmental future, and our economic growth here in the Commonwealth. Kentucky must be ready to capitalize on these opportunities. With our reserves, we are poised to be a leader in earth materials and once again contribute to a secure energy future. Just like Becky talked about agritech, our opportunity now is to build the industries and the opportunities of the future. Not to be chasing jobs of the last 30 years, but leading in the creation of jobs for the next 100 years. Whether it's aerospace and everything that we're doing in Moorhead, whether it's agritech and pretty soon opening the largest greenhouse in North America. All of those opportunities for innovation are out there, including and most especially in our energy sector. At the same time, Kentucky's natural gas-fired electricity generation reached a record 14.8 million megawatt hours in 2019 and accounted for about 1/5 of the state's net generation. Looking ahead, renewable energy will be an increasing part of the state's future energy mix. The biggest growth in renewable energy thus far is coming from solar. Right now, we have large solar projects pending before the Public Service Commission that would produce more than 1,000 megawatts of power. We know that in addition to our historically low energy prices, corporate buyers are increasingly interested in expanding and locating new businesses in areas that support these new renewable energy projects. To compete, we must have them. We must have an all-inclusive energy portfolio that ensures we are competing for every energy job that is out there. Because today's energy landscape, whether global, national, or just here in the Commonwealth, is facing uncertainty and rapid transformation. This has been compounded by COVID-19 and our efforts to fight this pandemic. It's altered how we behave, work, live, learn, even play. While energy and the environment play an outsized role in Kentucky's broader economy, they also affect all Kentuckians in our day-to-day lives. The coronavirus pandemic in many ways has compounded these effects. Imagine the anxiety that some Kentuckians are facing right now as they struggle to pay their bills. Think about businesses that are cutting back on workers or hours of operation, but still have to pay for the electricity, for air conditioning, for heating, for lighting. For many Kentuckians right now, that one bill might be what could break them. Kentuckians on average spend 3% of their income on energy costs, but those that are most vulnerable, like with everything, are hit so much harder. Their energy burden can quadruple that amount, and for those who are in extreme poverty, their energy burden can reach over 30%. Folks, that is just too high. The energy burden doesn't discriminate. It occurs in rural and urban areas across all housing types, whether you rent or own, and regardless of what language you speak. But poverty, that does discriminate. Makes it hard to pay the bills. And we have to understand that discrimination has been deeply rooted in our society for a long time. And all of us have an obligation to our Commonwealth, to me, to our faith, to build a better world that requires us to acknowledge it and to address it. Tackling the energy burden in Kentucky isn't just about using less energy. With more of us trying to stay healthy at home during this pandemic, it's essential that our homes actually be healthy. Energy conservation is one aspect of this equation, because for every household we improve through energy efficiency, there are 2 households that don't meet the basic requirements, meaning they are in such disrepair that energy efficiency has to wait in order for the house to be made safe first. It's no surprise that an unsafe home is often an unhealthy home. In this way, we can see how energy and environmental issues intersect with our health and social needs, as these same unsafe homes lead to health problems such as asthma. And we see that every day right now in the fight against the coronavirus. People's needs, oftentimes if they are struggling, from energy assistance to rent, to home repairs, to food assistance, to unemployment, to health care. It is all connected. If we want our people to thrive, we have to be able to provide in a time of pandemic, but we also have to have opportunities to get ahead of all of those bills and all of those needs. Because our goal for our Kentucky families isn't just that they survive, it's that everybody has a true and real opportunity to thrive, to make something more of themselves, and to improve the lives of every generation that comes after them. Over 635,000 Kentucky adults have asthma, and I'm one of them. Children suffer too, with almost 70,000 struggling to breathe every day. This story is so much worse for people of color. African American children are twice as likely to have asthma as other children, and 10 times more likely to die of complications from asthma. Now, Dr. King talked about healthcare, lack of healthcare being one of the greatest inequalities. We are working here in the Commonwealth to try to rectify that right now. Shouldn't have taken this long, shouldn't have taken a pandemic, but that doesn't mean that we, you and I, leaders that are here, those that are committed, don't do something about it right now. That's our job. Boosting our energy infrastructure helps safeguard the health of our citizens, and it protects our businesses. Federal estimates suggest here in Kentucky, our annualized property loss due to natural hazards is upwards of $80 million, $80 million a year. It's our job to build a better Kentucky, one that embraces innovation and provides our citizens and governments with reliable service and resiliency. It's time that we prepare for things like this in the future and prepare for those hazards, disasters that we face every year. It's time that we make sure that we put in the planning to be tougher and to make sure that those hazards don't impact us, certainly the way that this pandemic has. So I'm excited. Even in the midst of a pandemic, even in the midst of a quarantine, I'm excited about the opportunities our states and communities have through the federal Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities program. Now is the time for us to leverage this and other federal funding to invest in our basic infrastructure and other needs. If right now, while others are just treading water, we are doing what it takes, what we should have done during the Great Recession, in investing in areas that will not only create cost savings moving forward, but put us in a better position to compete with those good paying jobs or to provide that clean drinking water that every community deserves. So for fiscal year 2020, FEMA will distribute $500 million through that grant program. It's going to help incentivize public infrastructure projects, mitigate risks to our essential services, incorporate nature-based solutions like restoring forests and wetlands, and work to adopt and enforce modern building codes. That's pretty exciting. If right now we can make sure our communities are more resilient and are stronger moving forward. And I know I'm going to mention a couple other programs, but with each of these announcements, our communities are more ready for the future, but our families are also more secure in their basic needs. We cannot look at our energy infrastructure without looking at our environment. Increasing stress on natural resources, continued depletion of agricultural land, and the need to feed a growing population require dramatic increases in productivity and that we reduce our waste of resources and energy. That's why we are committed to becoming the center, not just for the United States, but for the world in agri-tech, right here in Kentucky. We've entered into an international partnership to use Dutch technology in building state-of-the-art sustainable food production facility and greenhouse, first in Moorhead, but in many other areas of this state as well. This is an area that right now there is so much investment in that we know the need is there. It's a basic survival need. But remember back to when we were wondering if there was even going to be food on the shelves when we went into the grocery store. This is an area that we had committed to because we know it's the future and we can lead to the jobs of the future, but its need is now of the present, of ensuring that we have a food chain supply that is uninterrupted, and it's become a national security issue as much of an issue in planning for the future. Reclaiming the environment is good for business and it helps our economy grow. And Kentucky's Brownfield program is doing just that. Blighted properties provide us with tremendous opportunities to revitalize our communities and create new economic development projects. For struggling local governments, these Brownfield projects have brought an estimated $29 to $97 million in additional tax revenues to local governments in a single year after the cleanup. In addition, revitalization improves the environment by decreasing air pollution and stormwater runoff in our communities, and that's good for all of us. Another great success in terms of revitalization is the Abandoned Mine Land Pilot Project grants, and I know you'll be hearing more about this here this week. This program, now in its 5th year, has already committed $130 million to Eastern Kentucky, and it's a tremendous opportunities for our leaders in Appalachian counties to determine and push projects that'll help grow a healthy and sustainable Kentucky and help us during this pandemic, again, prepare for our future, to address infrastructure needs that have afflicted areas of our state for so long. And folks, Eastern Kentucky needs these dollars. When one part of our state is struggling, we are all struggling. When you are Team Kentucky, We've got to make sure that each and every one of our teammates has that true opportunity. It requires a commitment to areas of our state that may need a little bit of help in the present to create a much brighter future, and that's what we're going to have. We're not going to walk or stumble out of the coronavirus. We are going to sprint into our future. I know it. I believe it. I have faith in it, but I'm also working every day to make it happen, and I know you are too. When we look at this AML program, 2 of the grants worth more than $4 million have gone to Martin County to improve the delivery of clean drinking water in that county. Every community needs reliable water and wastewater plants. That's why our Department for Local Government has funded 16 water and wastewater projects totaling more than $15 million. And the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, an arm of DLG, has approved 35 water and sewer project loans totaling more than $54 million. This has been a priority of this administration. It was a promise that I made, and we are not only going to keep that promise, we are going to fulfill our promise as a Commonwealth in working to make sure every Kentuckian has clean drinking water and every community has the water and wastewater facilities they need to grow our families and to grow our businesses. And as we look at our environmental legacy and the new challenges of a changing climate, because we do have a changing climate, we must embrace our responsibility to our environment, which we're going to leave to our children. I'm going to leave to my 2 children, and I know you're going to leave it to your children and grandchildren. This responsibility comes understanding what changes are occurring and managing the transitions, which is why today you'll hear about our renewed focus on environmental justice. My administration wants to ensure the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, whether it be access to clean drinking water in Martin County or air quality concerns in West Louisville. We are all Team Kentucky. We are listening better, trying to really listen and even hear. And we're taking steps to protect our most vulnerable citizens. We can and we must do better every single day. The first step to managing transitions is understanding where changes are occurring in our state. One big area is transportation. Kentucky's transportation sector accounts for 42% of our energy consumption, followed by our industrial sector. For our automobile manufacturers to our logistics and distribution network moving freight and goods, how Kentucky travels and how our transportation network connects to other states is important, and we must understand how electrification and new fuels will affect this sector, affect our budgets, impact the environment. Our Volkswagen settlement funding is helping transit agencies in Northern Kentucky, Louisville, Lexington, and Owensboro to invest in cleaner public transportation methods. I know Becky and I are especially proud of this because this is a settlement that we were able to secure in the Attorney General's office. And now, in a slightly different role, we're getting to put that money to good work. We're currently working with Kentucky school districts on cleaner buses for our children and communities, and we are excited to be working with other southern states on a connected electric vehicle charging network. At the same time, we're working on increasing the electric vehicle charging infrastructure in our state parks. Security, stewardship, and resilience are at the heart of Team Kentucky, and our energy resources must reflect these values. Over the next few weeks, the Energy and Environment Cabinet will be highlighting the energy resources and tools across the state that help support energy security, economic development, education, and workforce development. I want to thank each of you at the Energy and Environment Cabinet for the great work that you do, along with the Public Service Commission, to ensure essential workers who treat our water, produce our electricity, and move our fuel have the resources to keep the lights on, water flowing, and fuel supplied. You have done great work. So many of you all, great work under stress during these last 7 months. Because of the coronavirus, I haven't been able to get out, well, really at all, but certainly to our cabinets and government, to the agencies that work with us, to talk to you as much as I'd wanted. And we're going to fix that moving into the future. We have a chance right now to create a new culture in Kentucky, one based on mutual respect, compassion for our fellow individual, for our fellow man and woman, for our fellow Kentuckian, but also one where we can demand more from each other, we can set loftier goals, and we can be committed to this new future, better Kentucky, where all of our families do better. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of the past where fewer opportunities existed for kids growing up in this Commonwealth. I'm committed to a better future based on my two children, 110 and 111. Future that we are building right now that we can commit to what we can do together is the future that my kids will work in. I am invested. I am vested. So we need your help as a critical part of Team Kentucky. Even in the midst of a pandemic, I hope we can see that this is our chance. This is our opportunity. And if we grasp it, the sky is the limit for this state. Like I said, even in quarantine, I'm filled with so much hope and excitement about what our future can be. I know how strong we are. We can defeat the coronavirus. What can't we do? But let's make sure we emerge better people. Let's make sure we emerge demanding more from each other, from our state government, and from everybody in Kentucky. We have shown that in the toughest of times that we're even willing to put our economic interests aside to come together. We can't lose that as we emerge from COVID-19. Just keeping a little bit of that spirit, the spirit of Team Kentucky, is how we sprint into that future. Thanks for having me this morning. I'm very excited about the conference. I know it's virtual, but this is part of the future that we're embracing early, and I think that it is going to be invaluable to all of us. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together, and we're going to build that better Kentucky that is right in front of us. Thank you very much.